Good afternoon, everyone. This is Olga Redding with Iowa Organic Association. Welcome to our webinar with Ave Organics. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. For those of you who don't know me, I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator for Iowa Organic Association, in charge of doing all the education programming for IOA, including webinars such as the one that you're joining today. And we have Stan Buman, Tom Buman, and Lauren Kaiser that will be presenting today. Tom will be asking questions of Lauren and Stan, so it'll be an interactive presentation today. And what will happen is at the beginning of the meeting, I'll actually share my screen and tell you guys a little bit about IOA and our mission. And then after that, Tom will take over and we'll get started. So again, thank you guys for being here today, and let me share my presentation. All right. Okay, so you guys are part of a webinar with Iowa Organic Association. We are a nonprofit that was established in 2006, and we are committed to organic education, advocacy, and community cooperation. Our mission is to advance organic agriculture and food systems in the state of Iowa, and our members represent a diverse community of Iowa farmers, gardeners, food and farm businesses, advocates, and consumers who are champions for the organic movement, including Ave Organics, which is a sponsor of IOA, and we're very thankful to partner with today for our webinar. As far as our priorities, we have 4 overarching priorities to include education, outreach, advocacy, and community. As far as the education is concerned, we offer various programs to help expand and diversify organic opportunities in the state of Iowa. Some of the things that we have done and will continue to do are these growing organic expertise workshops that have been geared towards technical service providers in the state, such as NRCS folks and FSA folks. In addition, we created the first and only organic pork conference that was launched in 2019. Was supposed to happen in 2020, and due to COVID was canceled. However, we're continuing those efforts and have collaborated with Moses, and which was renamed this year as Growing Stronger, included some of those presentations in that conference this year, and are looking to collaborate with them again next year. So stay tuned for more on that. And then, of course, we do on-farm field days, webinars, and have a variety of online resources. As far as the outreach is concerned, we connect with our target audience and public to promote research, events, and resources that are beneficial to our organic community. And some of these things include, of course, conferences, trade shows, various events, and then we offer a plethora of information on our website and e-news and calendar and social media. So, and of course, the listserv. So I would highly recommend you connect with us that way. As far as advocacy, we do everything we can to advance organic policies at a state level leadership, and actually have had a meeting with Secretary of Agriculture, Naig, here recently, which is exciting. So hopefully more to come from that. As far as community, we encourage a culture of collaboration by connecting organic experts, stakeholders, and resources to strengthen Iowa's organic community. And you guys, each and every single one of you, represent the community. So thank you for being part of this. As far as resources, one of the largest resources that I am actually in the process of updating now is called our Iowa Organic Resource Directory. And it was developed to provide, organic and transitioning farmers a wide range of resources to help encourage their success. There's about 900 businesses and nonprofits and various service providers that have a connection to the organic industry in this directory. So it serves as a valuable tool for you to achieve growth and success in the organic industry. This particular document is actually available both in paper form that you can view and have available at your home if you like to request it, and then also it's available on our website in the PDF format too, so feel free to check that out under our resources page. And then, of course, as a nonprofit organization, we heavily rely on our membership as well as our sponsors. And so if you're interested to become a member or a sponsor, definitely check out all of that information on our website. And as always, feel free to reach out to Roz, our executive director, or myself with questions. All right, so this represents the end of my presentation. So I'll go ahead and allow Tom to take over. And if you guys have any questions that pop in while you are viewing this presentation, feel free to send a chat to everyone so we can see your question. And then what will happen is our presenters will present for about 35 or 40 minutes, and then we will still have about 15 to 20 minutes at the end of the meeting today to have an open Q&A portion of the event. So you are welcome to unmute yourself at the end and ask your question that way. In the meantime, Tom, if you want to take over, go right ahead.
Thanks, Olga. Thanks very much to you and the Iowa Organics Association. It's been great to work with you and great to be a member, a contributing member. That directory that you referred has been a great resource for us, and we have used it a lot. So we really appreciate all the effort that it's taken to put that together and just the support that you've given the organic community in Iowa. So hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in today. This is a special episode of Organics Unpacked, a podcast where we discuss organic farming from a practical view. And I'm your host, Tom Buman. I'm excited today to be hosting a podcast that's really been supported by Iowa Organic Association. It was only a couple of weeks ago that I interviewed Roz Lehman, the executive director of Iowa Organics Association, on the Organics Unpacked podcast. Obviously, to the listening audience, if you're interested, you can listen to that episode at the Ave Organics website. With that said, today I'm joined by Lauren Kaiser and Stan Buman. Lauren and Stan work for Ave Organics, a subsidiary of Wilbur-Ellis, and they're here to share some information on a new organic fertilizer that's available to Iowa farmers. So Lauren and Stan, welcome to Organics Unpacked.
Thank you very much for having us. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I think this is a great topic, and we appreciate the two of you taking part. So Lauren, I'm going to start with you. Ave Organics, obviously, I work on the team too, right? And so we are a new company. Could you tell us, in your mind, you've been around it the longest, what's the origins of Ave Organics? Why did it come about? What's the history, and really, what are you attempting to do?
So about a couple years back, a little over a couple years, Wilbur-Ellis has a branded products division that was looking for another form of organic fertilizer for the organic division of the branded products team. They were able to come across some technology that really interested them and a bunch of their growers that was a liquid organic nitrogen. And we found a group that was from the East Coast that had moved into the Midwest, and they went by the name of New Organics. And they had a patented technology that they were able to come up with a process that they could deliver on this this liquid fertilizer. And along the way, there was a couple things that we ran into, and one of them was the dry product that was also being made as they were utilizing their process. And we decided that we needed to put a team together. So we're launching Ave Organics, which, as you explained, is just a handful of us that are working on this project. And we're working with a bunch of poultry barns and other organic companies, and we're basically putting it out there that we've got a couple products now that we're going to bring to the market, both of which we're very excited about, and we're working on a bunch of others that I'm sure we'll talk about as we go further into the show.
Great. Thanks, Lauren. And just for, I mean, coming from the Midwest myself, I don't know much about the company Wilbur-Ellis, the parent company of Ave Organics. Can you talk a little bit about Wilbur-Ellis and their background and history, maybe?
Yep. So Wilbur-Ellis is just turned 100 years old here about a month ago, 2 months ago. Family-owned company, started out on the West Coast in California. Have since grown both over in the Pacific Rim with a company called Cannell Brothers. So just to back up a little bit, Wilbur-Ellis is made up of 4 divisions. They have Cannell Brothers, which is over on the Pacific Rim, like I just mentioned. They have a nutrition division that is basically animal feed and nutrition. And that runs mostly along the West Coast, but it slowly has moved into the Midwest with a couple of acquisitions that they've done recently. They also have their ag division, which is their largest division, and that has been centered in office out of Denver, Colorado. And then they also, here about 1.5 years ago, they acquired a company called Nature's, and Nature's is a specialty fertilizer outfit. The one thing that they wanted to do, though, as a family, and especially where they got their roots at, they wanted to really grow into the organic space and the carbon space and just the overall sustainability model and message that's being worked on by a lot of different outfits right now. But they've been doing this for quite some time, and they really wanted to launch something that would help push them into the next 100 years. And they really wanted to go down the organic path for that.
Yeah, and so obviously that's why they set up Ave Organics, is to kind of make that specialized push into organic farming.
Correct.
All right.
Yep.
So you talked about the products and the way you kind of found this special liquid product that you're calling Terrapreem, right? And where will the Terrapreem be used largely? Kind of what marketplace will it go?
So the market that was asking for Terrapreem, and just let's back up a little bit. So Terrapreem is going to be, it's an 8% liquid ammonium nitrate is basically what it is. It is 100% plant readily available form of nitrogen. And the reason that it came about is because they were listening to all the customer feedback and customer requests that were coming from the West Coast and even some of the other places in the US that have the specialty crops, but it was majority of it was coming from the specialty crops. And they were just, it's something that's needed. There's a few other ways that they can do it, but a lot of it either takes a long time for it to become plant readily available, or it's just not the funnest stuff in the world to work with. So they were really looking for something that was easy handling, easy application, all that kind of stuff. And with the Terrapreem product that we've come across and will eventually have for the marketplace, they got exactly that. When it goes through the patented technology, when it runs through the facility over there in Iowa, they're basically capturing the ammonia. It's turning it back into a liquid product. And then, obviously it goes through their patented process, and lo and behold, we get an 8% nitrogen out of the deal. And I can go into more specifics if we need to. There are other people that can speak a lot more in depth about it as well. But at the end of the day, it was about listening to the customers, what they were asking for, and trying to deliver a product to the market that is something that they were looking for.
Right. And this 800, this Terrapreem, it's OMRI approved, so it is ready for the organic market, right?
That is correct. Yep, we received OMRI approval. We're still waiting on CDFA, but pretty much we're getting close to the point where we're getting all the boxes checked, and it's going to be ready for launch.
Okay, so CDFA, California Department of Agriculture, their kind of organic approval, we're also working on that too, right?
Yep, that is correct. OMRI certification was done. Some people, California has some rules in place for the right reasons, and but a lot of them are there are a few more hoops and a few more T's to cross and I's to dot. So it's just taking a little bit longer.
Sure. Okay. So we've got the liquid, but what we're mainly talking about today is kind of the byproduct of the process, the dry part that remains, right? So you're taking the ammonia off the top before it escapes when we do things like hauling and application and any incorporation. That smell that we smell is the ammonia leaving, and we're capturing it in this process. But then in the end, we get this dry product. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yep. So that was another process of listening to what the customers wanted. So like you just mentioned, Tom, working with raw manure in organic world is nothing new. It's been going on for years and years and years. But what we did want was something that was easier to handle and something that could transport further. And obviously there's still quite a few people in this realm of the world too that are handling, a crumble or a pelleted manures. And but there's limited access to a lot of those facilities. And so what we wanted to do when we seen the type of scale that this facility was going to bring to the market, we wanted to be able to make sure that we could deliver on this product to the rest of the clientele or the farmers out there that were wanting some sort of a manure-based product, but that doesn't make sense financially to haul raw manure to the distances that they needed. And so plus we knew we were going to have the volume where we could service a lot more people in a given area. And as we found out, Tom, it can haul a lot further than what we originally thought. So the dry product that comes out is basically, at first we were considering a byproduct, and a lot of people didn't know what to do. And then that's kind of where we created our group at Ave Organics. And so we have a crumbled 443 is what we call our VydaTilth product. And it comes out at about 10% moisture, give or take, one way or the other. It's going to have weigh about 42 pounds, and it really has delivered a nice product. It's in the early stages we had some issues with making sure that the size was fairly accurate. But what they're shooting for the VydaTilth product is about a 3 to 5 millimeter in size crumble. And for the most part, if it's too small, they call that the fines, and they sift that out, and we do something else with that. And then if it's too large, it obviously goes back through the process. But at the end of the day, we're expecting this one facility to produce anywhere from 60 to 80,000 tons of VydaTilth per year.
Okay, and this all originates from poultry manure, right?
It's 100% poultry manure. That's
okay,
correct.
So we're taking some poultry manure off the market, running it through the process. We end up with the VydaTilth. Like you said, it's got really nice properties. Talk a little bit about the odors and handling it. Like when we have manure, you often have, water quality issues where you pile it. You might have some issues with odor or flies or stuff like that. Talk a little bit about kind of some of those physical properties, how VydaTilth is different than maybe raw manure.
Well, number one, it's just, the feedback you get from people handling raw manure is usually, yes, they love the aspect of what it brings to their field, but the handling and the application, all that stuff can be a challenge. And, one of the things of the raw manure that we were taking off the market was the quality that it was a lot of the manures that people didn't like to handle. It's the wetter stuff. Some of the stuff that barns were having a more difficult time getting rid of. And so running it through this process obviously makes it a lot easier to handle. You're eliminated the large piles that sometimes your neighbors aren't always, overly excited to have next to their field. you know, the pathogens and the smell, like you were talking about. It's just, you're not planting trees, right? It's something that it takes the place of something that was a bit of an eyesore, and you're still receiving the same benefits that you would be with the raw fertilizer. Now there's a couple differences, but you know, you're taking away a lot of the weed seeds when it's going through this process, and some of the pathogens that people didn't want. But overall, Tom, you're basically getting a much a better quality. You're getting a lot easier to handle, and we've found multiple methods of application that people really seem to benefit from, and just it's so much easier to handle.
Okay. So Stan, I'm going to switch to you. I know that you've been around the application of it a little bit. Talk about some of the, I mean, we know with raw manure, we're spreading with a manure spreader for the most part. We get as consistent spreading as possible, but still manure is inconsistent. What are ways that we can take this VydaTilth and apply it with?
So again, you still can use that manure spreader if that is your main method of application. I have also worked with a private retailer who put it in an air spreader and spread it that way. So as Lauren said, it's a very good product, easy to handle. A spreader cart, like a fertilizer cart, you could use that also. So there's multiple ways to spread it, and it is a very easy product to handle.
Okay. And so then the kind of the application spread, I mean, it's pretty consistent. Lauren talked about, you know, it's pretty dense, and it throws out, I assume it throws out pretty well.
Yeah, so it would be very much like spreading commercial fertilizer. We've done a little bit of tests where we've put out some instruments across the row and measured the amount of spread, and very uniform spread from what we've seen.
Okay.
And just to throw in there too, Tom and Stan, is the other application methods that we've used are you know, strip tilling, running it through a Montag or a Soil Warrior or any of that kind of stuff. It flows actually very nice, and it was a kind of a pleasant surprise. But a lot of people have gone to that method, so they're getting it more focused right there in the row.
No, I think that's a really good add-on. Thanks, Lauren. So let's talk about trucking, Lauren, because I know one of the services that Ave Organics helps with is like if there's some, I know people can come and pick it up at the plant if they want to, I assume, but how do you get this material out? It's sitting in Clarion, Iowa. A farmer in Newton, Iowa wants some of it. Like, what's the methodology for it? How do they contact you? How do they get it delivered? What's the supply chain look like?
Well, like you said, you can go to the website and get all of our contact information. And the other thing that we've done is we're going to start to list some of the dealers that we've been working with. We're listing their information on the website as well. We've got a very good but very tight dealer network that we've started with. But basically, everything gets priced FOB, Clarion, Iowa. You know, and if you're working with a dealer in the area already, great. If you're not, we can either help introduce, or we can work something out where we can get to the farm. We can find a way to get the product to your farm. We have a handful of third-party logistics and freight and hauling companies that we're working with. And so we have had very good luck basically getting anybody lined up to get the product where we need to go. And this stuff has traveled a lot farther than I think any of us ever thought it would. You know, it's gone from central Iowa over to Nebraska, up to Minnesota, over to the East Coast. We're doing some work in Pennsylvania and all the way down even to Florida and into Texas. So the stuff gets in a truck and it travels really well. And it seems like the quality stays very well intact when it gets there.
So obviously when it's getting to Florida, it's probably not going on corn and beans, but somebody at some point in time think it's valuable enough to come pay the price in Clarion and ship it all the way to Florida.
Again, that's just kind of you know, making the product available in the marketplace. You know, there's the you know, there are multiple different produce that's raised down in Florida, you know, from I mean, I don't have a list of everything they have down there, but it's making it available is what we've really noticed, that when you make your product available, there's a lot of people out there that would like to have access to it. And this is just helping them get access to it by having it being able to travel so well.
Yeah, obviously the outreach arm of Wilbur-Ellis, you know, on the ag retail side really helps Ave Organics kind of fit into that organic space and get the word out, I'm assuming.
Yes, very much so. You know, the last three or 4 years, they've been dedicating a lot more of their time, energy, and resources to really getting into the sustainability message and modeling. And you know, the family themselves, that's the direction they would like to go. And they've really been following it up for the last 4 years. And you know, launching Ave Organics is just one of the few things that they're doing to help really enter into the organic market.
Okay, so Lauren, talk a little bit. Are you prepared to talk about the cost, what you're pricing the VydaTilth at, and then what transportation costs might roughly be if somebody's looking at getting it hauled to their place?
Yep. Transportation costs has been kind of it's all over the board. Honestly, it's just kind of a call and get the pricing on the freight. You know, that's basically up to the third-party handlers, and we can just find the one that would fit you best, or the one that's closest, or the one that has the best rate. As far as the pricing on the product, you know, that has gone from a real steady Eddie price to now the raw manure that we're accessing has been kind of following the conventional markets for some reason, and everybody's trying to get more out of their NP and K these days, and so we've kind of been at the mercy of that market. So that we're probably going to be safe to say just is kind of call and see, or you can call any of our dealers and just get pricing that way. And I mean, that way you know for sure, you can say where you're at, where you're going, and you can get a pricing on the product, and then you can get a pricing on the freight as well.
Okay, so you're seeing what we see in the commercial market, an increase in our primary nutrients, NP and K. We're also seeing that in the organic market too.
Yes, very much so. It's just, you know, the people that are handling the raw products or the raw goods, they're trying to capture as much out of this market as well, and you know, that's who we have to source product from, and that's the hand that we're dealt. So we're just trying to play it as best we can.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. So Stan, an important part of this too, obviously organic farmers, is the OMRI certification, or the OMRI listing, I guess. When did the product VydaTilth get listed? Kind of, is it everything ready to go? If somebody wants the label with the OMRI listing on it, is that all ready to go?
Yeah, the OMRI listing is on the label already. I think this was done probably about a couple of months ago. And so when you get the label, the OMRI listed will be right on the label.
Okay, great. So back to you, Lauren. I know that you're embedded in Wilbur-Ellis also, and we talk about them setting up Ave Organics to help the organic farmer out. What are the I know products in the Midwest are hard to get a hold of for organic farmers. It's not the same as being out in California. How can Wilbur-Ellis, if there are products that a farmer wants, how can Wilbur-Ellis help them access those products?
So Wilbur-Ellis, like I was mentioned earlier at the start of the podcast, they do have an organic division. And inside that organic division, you know, Dr. Jason Ellsworth has been helping them put together a very good array of products, you know, from the different fungicides and, you know, the limited amount of herbicides and insecticides that we're able to use in the organic markets. Actually has a fairly good portfolio for people to choose from. And as Ave Organics, what we do is, again, we're just kind of connecting the different dots in the marketplace, and we hope to be able to give people access to some of those products if it's what they're looking for. You know, because a lot of times it's hard to find an input provider for organic products, or sometimes you got to go to a place that's less than desirable, and What we want to do is open that up a little bit, just so people have access to it, or at least somebody they can call and ask questions. And we're early in the stages of what we're doing with Ave Organics, but that is one of the focus that we're trying to bring along as well as the fertilizer is the rest of the inputs that come with them. And by having access to the Wilbur Organic division and Dr. Jason Ellsworth, we really think we'll bring, I don't want to say a complete package, but we'll bring a lot of options that people can choose from and ask questions about.
Yeah, I think it's very fortunate that Wilbur-Ellis does have Dr. Jason Ellsworth, who is a graduate of Iowa State University. And, so, he comes with a lot of credibility, let's face it, right off the bat. So he's a good person to have on board. Lauren, you have one other product, Hudson pellets. So you have the VydaTilth, which is this crumble, you said 3 to 5 millimeter, coming out of Clarion, Iowa. But I know she also have a pellet of chicken manure. A little bit on that?
Yep. So both of them fall underneath VydaTilth. VydaTilth is basically going to be our branding. It's going to be what we call our dry product lineup. And the one we have is the VydaTilth is Octus, which is the crumble that comes out of central Iowa there in Clarion. And then over in Hudson, Colorado, we have access to a pelleted product, which is about 1/4 inch by 1/2 inch, right in that ballpark. Very, very good product. It is also a 443, but it's just a pellet instead of a crumble. But some people prefer a pellet, some people prefer a crumble. It just depends on what you're looking for. To be honest with you, I think they both flow really well. They both spread really well. If I had to pick anything that I would say there's a difference between the two is if you're going with the the strip till option, sometimes the VydaTilth Octus, which is the crumble, it might flow a little bit better in that system, but there's still plenty of people that have been using the pellets in those systems too.
Okay.
But that's just the difference is one's over in Hudson, Colorado, which is halfway in between Fort Morgan and Denver, and then the other one is in Clarion, Iowa. Obviously.
Okay. So before we open this up to questions from the audience, Lauren, I know that Ave Organics kind of works in this space of, organic products that are either manure or derived from manure. Are there any, I know that you're scanning kind of the environment out there, looking for other products to pick up. Are there any new things out there that you see coming to the organic market that may be available to organic farmers in Iowa over the next couple of years?
Yep. Yeah, no, we're always looking. The number one question and request and the thing that we get is, people are looking for a source of nitrogen. Manures are fantastic. With the organic matter and the nitrogen you get and all the rest of the nutrients. I mean, everybody knows the benefits of manure, I'm assuming. But the one thing that sometimes people say that we get the feedback on is, they've been using, beef manure or dairy manure or whatever. Well, their P levels, their phos levels are sometimes getting out of control. So we're really trying to listen, and we're really trying to keep searching for those straight nitrogen products. And there's a couple other liquids that we're looking at that are on the marketplace, and they're still in kind of the early stages and making sure that we got to make sure that they're getting OMRI approval and they're doing everything the right way. But everything is manure based that we're looking at, and there's some new technology and there's some new ideas out there that we're paying close attention to, and in a lot of cases we're even working side by side with some of them as they come along with these products. But here, I think in probably 6 to 12 months, I think we're going to have a couple new ideas that we'd like to present to the organic world and the organic farmers that I think will help make things a lot easier as far as sourcing their nitrogen.
Well, I think there's a lot of people that will be excited about hearing about those. The sooner the better, I'm sure. Yep. Stan, is there anything about that we missed talking about VydaTilth?
I think just the couple things we touched on some of them, but like when you're working with the VydaTilth, because a lot of the ammonia has been driven off in the heating process, there is less odor. you know, it's still a manure-based product. There's still going to be an odor. I don't want to claim that there isn't, but definitely the odor is reduced. The other thing is that by heating it, you know, you're dealing with a dry product. Flies are just not as much of an issue with that either. But then the weed seed, because it's heated up, it kills the weed seed germ. And on the tests we've run, we have not been able to find any live seeds in there. And so I think from an organic standpoint, where weeds is always an issue, you know, a product like this, where you can reduce the weed seeds that you're importing to your farm, so much the better.
Okay, all right. Good point. All right. So we want to go ahead and open it at this point in time up to the audience. There are some questions in the chat that I'll read for Stan and Lauren. A couple of them I think have been answered, but let's start. First one is, how does this dry product differ from Sustain 832?
So I would have to dig into what that product is, but I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, so, you know, most of your manures that you're going to see that enter the marketplace are going to be, I mean, once you start getting up around a 4 or 5% nitrogen, especially poultry, if you're going to get any higher than that, you're usually going to be coming in with some sort of an additive, like a blood meal or a feather meal, or something along those lines. Bone meal sometimes. There's different shrimp and all sorts of stuff that our organic division has taught me that we're just kind of learning. But usually we have those types of products too, but it's at a much higher cost, just because you're having to source those products and then you're going to have to blend them into your base product usually.
Okay. Right. So I think this question was answered. Where is the facility in Iowa? It's at Clarion, right outside of Clarion, about 5 or 6 miles.
Yep, I think it's 5 miles to the east, and then it's what about another 2-3 miles south of Clarion.
Okay.
It's actually
that's
closer to Galt.
Right. And that's where the raw manure is being hauled in and turned into the Terrapreem, the 800 liquid, and the VydaTilth, the 443 dry.
That is correct. There's multiple barns in the area, but I mean, obviously they're trying to use the ones that are as close as possible, but a lot of it just depends on some of the different barns and just the different moistures that are coming that are coming with the raw manure.
Okay. Next question is, how is the dust on this product?
How's the what?
Dust.
The dust has in the facility, you know, they've got the dust collectors, and you know, we've got the fines product that I talked a little bit before. That's the one that sifts out when it's too small. Capturing the fines and capturing the dust has been a daily battle. Not gonna sugarcoat it at all, but they are putting new things in place to control the dust and the fines. The VydaTilth product that's coming out of there, the dry product, for the most part, when things are running good and the loads are coming out, it's not as much dust as I originally thought there would be. And a lot of that's due to the processes they're putting in place. And those are only going to get better as we keep going.
Okay. Is this product, the VydaTilth, the 443 dry, available in a tote?
Currently, right now, we are just selling bulk loads, truckloads, and to wherever we go. We hope to put in a system in place where we can package it, but a lot of the dealers that we're working with, they have ability to package this stuff into totes, and some of them are even putting them into, you know, 5, 10, and 25-pound bags. So we have not dipped our toes in that yet. It's not really something that we're looking at here in the short term. Long term, though, that's something that we'll have to evaluate and see if that's what we want to do, or continue just utilizing our dealers.
So for now, Lauren, you are going direct to farmer on some of it. Most of it you're going through a dealer, and if a dealer chooses to put it in a tote or bag it, that's their choice.
That is correct.
All right. So the last question I have in the chat goes back to pricing, Lauren, and it says, how much is it? Please provide a general pricing, or is it a secret?
No, there's no secrets. You know, most of this stuff is probably going to range. I mean, it's gone up $30. I can tell you that much. So
okay.
the market is probably anywhere out there from 100 and on heat treated product, like we're talking, is anywhere from probably 135 to 165 is usually the general range that we've seen on our dealer sheets. So anywhere in that range is about where it should settle. If hopefully when the green markets come back down, we can get a little more aggressive on our pricing. But in general, I would say that's the range that everything's been falling into.
Well, obviously the price increase in this product is not as much as the price increase in our commercial fertilizer, over the last year. So I guess that's the good news.
Yep, not even close. In fact, we used to get, we put calculators together, and we can provide calculators to people that would like it. And I know some of our dealers have these same calculators, and you can definitely show when we were comparing a year ago the price of the VydaTilth versus conventional fertilizers, that there was a gap there, but that gap has greatly narrowed here in the last few months.
Okay, all right. Well, that's the questions I have, Olga. I don't know if you want to open this up for verbal questions at this point in time.
It looks like Billy asked if this is the price that you mentioned, if that's per ton.
That is per ton.
Okay. And then, of course, for everybody participating, if you guys want to put yourself on video and on mute and ask a question that way, you are more than welcome to. Or if you'd like to type in any additional questions in the chat, that's very welcome as well. Of course, we still have time for discussion.
One thing that I can comment on while we're waiting for other questions is that, we've hinted about this several times, but this is a product that's down to about 10% moisture. So when you're looking at hauling cost of it versus raw manure, if raw manure has 40, 50, 60% moisture, you're just hauling a lot of water, where this product, you're really hauling the good stuff.
So I got a question. It says, what is the trick to submitting anything on the website? You click not a robot and then submit button goes red instead of blue.
I don't know the answer to that. It's no, if you go down to the chat at the bottom, you can type in the chat and it should appear. So if you hover towards the bottom of your screen, you should get to the chat. Is that what the question was, Olga?
I am not 100% sure. The person that asked the question, do you want to unmute yourself and ask it again? Maybe I'm not making myself clear. I'm not going to put them on the spot if they don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Olga?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll ask. So I went to your website and went to the contact us, and also looked at the dealer. And when you put in your information, it doesn't allow you to submit it. So I don't know if there's a technical glitch on my end.
Well, we have to blame that on Stan, right?
I will definitely take a look at that.
Okay.
Yes.
Kim, until then, certainly feel free to get an email address and send an email to Stan or Lauren, and they will get the information back to you.
Okay, thank you.
And Kim, just to drop this, I mean, just depending on where you're located and whatnot, we do, like I said before, we do have a good network of dealers that if there's any other questions, or if you want more in-depth answers, or you want a little more help with planning and all that kind of stuff, a lot of these dealers that we've been speaking with and are working with are very good, and they've been in the organic market for quite some time. So if you want any help on locating one of them too, we're more than willing to help out with that process.
That's nice. That's good to know. Thank you for pointing that out, Lauren. It looks like there's another question that came from Norma, and she said, can you please provide an ingredient list for certification purposes?
Yep. Stan?
So I was busy typing. I was making sure I could test the contacts. So what was the question?
So it says, can you provide an ingredient list for certification?
Ingredient list for certification.
I think the only ingredient is
Well, it's raw manure.
yeah, raw poultry manure.
Yeah, I'm not sure that that answers the question, but the only thing that is put in there is raw poultry manure. There is no other additives in this product.
That's simple enough.
Thanks, Stan.
Now, we may look at some additives down the road, but at this time, the VydaTilth Octus is simply poultry manure. And by the way, it is like a lay, it is an egg laying chicken. It's not a broiler or something like that. So I should be able to type in my email here so that if anybody wants to contact us and is having trouble, you can at least see my email.
There is one more question that popped up. Some poultry manure has bedding issue that certifiers do not accept. Either one of you want to address that?
Yeah, so this is actually an egg laying facility, and they do not use bedding in the facility, so it is bedding free.
Okay. Thanks, Stan.
I think most of your bedding is when you're dealing with broilers and the others, correct, Stan?
Yes, that's the way I understand it.
Yep. From time to time, I think if we want to get honest about it, people will call us and say that they've got, you know, straw and bedding that they might see from time to time, especially when they're, you know, if we're purging the system that week or cleaning something out or changing a piece of equipment. But what they're actually seeing is a few quills or feathers that might have made it through. Actually, probably only received a total of 3 phone calls on that. All from our dealers, and it was just it was a quick fix most of the time, but there's been a couple instances where there was quite a few quills that came through, and that's usually when we're switching equipment or we're getting down to the bottom of the pile or something. But for the most part, it's ran pretty clean and fairly smooth as far as product goes.
I think from our end, Olga, that's about it.
All right. Well, thank you guys for, or it looks, oh, one more question there.
So another question, it seems expensive. I assume that's VydaTilth. In comparison to composted turkey manure, can you offer the advantages of your product?
Without knowing what the analysis is on the turkey manure, I can tell you when we're dealing with the composted stuff, we're usually carrying a lot higher nitrogen. But that's with not knowing what you're dealing with. I'm sure there's other manures, especially the turkey manure that's out there that carries a good nutrient content. But with the composting that we've been dealing with, and in some cases handling and working with, it's usually been significantly less on the nitrogen load. And that's the one nutrient that we're all going after. That's the one everybody seems to want. So the nitrogen that we're carrying in the VydaTilth compared to the compost that we've seen, then that's mostly been in chickens. So again, I'm careful what I say about the turkey ones, but that's usually why.
Yep. So a couple add-ons where Billy added on that if I understand correctly, the composted turkey manure was a 443, so very similar to the VydaTilth. And then Kim Anderson said, Billy, weed seed and trust what you get, had a bad experience with turkey litter. So I'm not sure. I think that's a commentary maybe on the compost turkey litter, but I think a good point on the weed seed is, as Stan said, in the VydaTilth, the heating process of 200 to 220 degrees is killing the pathogens in the weeds. So
and also in the composting world, which composting is a great quality, is a good product. So I'm not knocking it or putting it down by any means, but when you're composting, and a lot of the times, like what we've seen when they're dealing with all the bedding and the different products that are in there, a lot of it just gets tied up, and it's not available for use until it just breaks down, and that process takes a lot longer in compost.
Yep. Just because of the carbon that's in it and the bedding.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys for your presentation. Thank you, Stan, Tom, and Lauren, for being here today and for explaining us about your products further. So what I will do, you guys, for everybody that attended, is I will send you a quick 5-minute survey at the most. Your responses help us with our grant purposes. And so it truly means a lot if you can please fill out that survey. In addition, I will be sending a link to this recording. I will be uploading this recording onto our YouTube channel. And also I'll be sharing this recording with Ave Organics, and they will be uploading it onto their website under their podcast series. So definitely check out either one of those options. It will be available for further viewing. If you have anyone else that could benefit from this information, definitely be sure to share with them. Again, guys, thank you for being here today, and thank you everybody for attending, and I hope you all have a great day.
Thanks, Olga.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.